So Corsair has recently announced their new 4000 series cases with a couple of options depending on your need and design choices. The 4000D comes in 3 different configurations. The standard 4000D with a metal front panel, the 4000D Airflow, which we have here that has that triangular cutout in the front for better air pass through, and then also the 4000X with the tempered glass front panel and 3 SB Pro RGB fans. All 3 of the models are available in a black or a white as well. Now, of course, all 3 models do differ in prices, but the Airflow model, which we are going to take a look at, is currently retailing for around $80 or 1,700 Rand here in South Africa. But before we get into how this bad boy looks, if you want to get the 4000D for yourself, definitely go check out DreamwareTech.co.za, where you can get a ton of other Corsair products as well. Forget about a subpar customer service. DreamwareTech delivers nationwide, keeps you updated on every step of the way, and something very special is that everything comes inside eco-friendly packaging. So go check out DreamwareTech.co.za and get your new Corsair products today. Now, for the design, Corsair went with a very similar look to their previous crystal cases like the 220T and the 460X, which we did review a while back. The 4000D Airflow's front panel comes in with this large triangular cutouts for improved cooling compared to the other 2 options, but the rest of the case is pretty much the exact same throughout all 3. So on the side, you do get a large tempered glass side panel and a couple of accent pieces in the new bright yellow that Corsair has decided to use on their new products. Corsair also went with a pop-off front, back and side panels, which does make closing the panels pretty easy. However, for our panels, we did see that the front one did clip loose the first time we tried to open it, but we just popped it back in and we didn't have a problem after that. Just behind the front panel, you do have a dust filter that you can easily pop off if you wanted to clean it. For your front I/O, you do get both a power and reset switch, a USB 3.0 Type A port, a USB 3.1 Type C port, and then also a headphone and microphone combo jack. Removing the tempered glass side panel, you are greeted with a very clean interior that supports up to ATX size motherboards, GPUs up to 360mm in the length, and air coolers with a maximum height of 170mm. The PSU shroud also extends almost all the way to the front, which does hide your cables. Now, I'm not too crazy about the cutouts on the power supply shroud, but if you do get some of their new RGB power supplies, that could look good, and it does also help with airflow if you wanted to mount your power supply facing upwards, which I don't think a lot of people actually does, but it is useful for that. But I am happy to see that this case does support vertical GPU mounting, which always looks really good. But keep in mind, it does not come with a riser cable, and spacing between the side panel and the GPU is very limited, so cooling might be an issue if your card is thicker than a standard 2-slot card. So just keep that in mind. Now, the fixed PSU shroud covers up most of the cables and has mounting locations for 2 of the 2.5-inch hard drive bays, which does leave a space in the front for either a 360mm or 280mm radiator. For the top, you can fit either 2 120mm or 2 140mm fans, or if you wanted to, you can go up to a 280mm rad for the top, but clearance will depend on your motherboard and your memory choices. As for our configurations, it didn't leave enough space for our 280mm radiator. The top is also covered by a magnetic dust filter, which you can easily again remove to clean up. At the rear of the case, you do have space for a single 120mm fan. The 4000D also comes with a cable guide that has 2 possible positions depending on the thickness of your cables. It does help to keep the inside of your case nice and neat, but we will get into how it looks at the back a bit later. Now, speaking of the fans, Corsair did include 2 of their new Air Guide non-RGB fans. However, at the time of writing this review, there isn't that much information regarding them. All we know is that they are anti-vortex fans and designed to concentrate your airflow. Now, just like the name implies, the 4000D airflow excels at one thing, and that is the airflow. This was the main focus when designing the front panel for this case, and I think Corsair did a pretty good job here. Compared to the other two options and some of the other previous cases we looked at, which did look quite gorgeous, but they did sacrifice on airflow, with only the sides of the front paneling allow for intake. The 4000D airflow is definitely the better option if you do need extra cooling capacity for your toasty components, which a lot of people in warmer areas do kind of need. Plus, Corsair still makes it look good with the nice triangular cutouts, which makes sure that you can still see all of your RGB goodness. Then when removing the back panel, you do get two 2.5-inch storage trays against the back of the motherboard, as well as a toolless dual 3.5-inch hard drive caddy that can be fitted into two positions or completely remove it depending on your build. The fact that the caddy can be moved further away from the power supply does help hide the excess cables underneath the power supply shroud, especially if you do not have a fully modular power supply. Combining that with Corsair's rapid root cable management system, it does make cable management a bit easier. However, for us, it was still a bit of a problem, especially with the amount of fans and other RGB accessories we added. It was still a bit of a struggle putting everything in the back, because there's only 25 millimeters of clearance between the back of the motherboard tray and the back panel. So managing all of those cables, especially with the thick 24-pin power cable that we added, which did look good, but it did make it quite a bit difficult to hide everything neatly. This is the problem with the majority of other mid towers, where if you do add a bit too many accessories and fans, it does make it a bit hard to cable management everything neatly. Then underneath the case, there isn't anything too special here. You get a 4 wide feet that gives you enough height for your power supply to get enough airflow, as well as a removable dust filter. Now, as for building inside the case, for the hardware that we used, it was pretty smooth, with no real struggles when installing any of the components, other than the fact that we did have to go for a smaller 240mm instead of the 280 that we originally planned for, because of the clearance at the top. Now, cable management at the back, again, was the biggest issue that we faced, but with all of the stuff that we added, it wasn't necessarily that big of a problem, and it was definitely worth the struggle to make it look this good in the end. So for my final thoughts on the 400D, it is definitely a great looking case, especially the white version that we have here. It just accents off the RGB a lot more. Now, I do also like the geometric design Corsair went with the front panel. The airflow was great, and there was enough space to build inside it without really any issues. Corsair did definitely make some improvements compared to their older previous cases, like their 460X that I still have, with the inclusion of repositional drive bays, and the overall build quality is just so much better. The 4000D is pretty good value as well for the money in general, because you don't necessarily get the RGB fans with this case, but for the price point and the build quality, everything you get is definitely a good buy to go for. So if you do need a newer case and you need great airflow as well, then this is definitely a case that you need to take a look at. Or if you want to show off your RGB a bit more, you do again also have the 4000X version as well, or just the standard 4000D as well. So there are some options that you can take a look at. But that's pretty much it for my review of the Corsair 4000D Airflow. If you guys enjoyed this review, please like, share, comment like always. Big thanks to Corsair for sending the case over for review. And if you guys want to get it for yourself, definitely check out the links in the video description. But that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll check all of you next time. Cheers, guys.